Hello and welcome to the show. I am here on Forza 6 with another silly car build. My vehicle today is the Volkswagen Campervan. People wanted to see me have a go with this car, and I am kind of interested to see what on earth is going to happen with this when I put in far too much power and try and keep it under control. I would be surprised if this sort of stays in a straight line at any point during the attempts to drive it. It is not likely to be a particularly easy vehicle to keep under control. As far as engines go for this vehicle, we don't have the NASCAR engine. I was kind of expecting to have the NASCAR engine as an option. We don't. We have the flat 4 turbo, the 5.7 litre V8, or the 3 litre flat 6. And for the purposes of this, we will be going with the flat 6. It is a slightly heavier engine, but we should be able to get, this is where we're going to get the most power out of, basically, and an engine that doesn't get used that often either. And of course, we'll go for the twin turbos. We will want every possible bit of handling parts that we can get on this thing if we're going to try and keep it under control. As much as I'd love to have a roof rack and the Forza Aero, the Forza Aero is kind of that little bit more important. As funny as the roof rack is, yeah, the Aero bit might be important to, try and keep under control. Also, and when you take away that bumper, the exhaust looks very precarious. It looks like it is about to fall off at any second. And to be fair, it would surprise me with with what we're going to be doing with this vehicle. We will get rid of the white walls, go for the race tyres. The only plus point really for this vehicle is the tyres aren't as small as they could have been. It gets 255s all round, which, okay, while still on the relatively small side for these silly vehicles, could have been worse. It could have been a lot worse, and I was expecting it to be worse on the tyre size. So, yeah, I mean, we're going to be having, well, much wheel spin and probably not much control. But yeah, it could be worse. I think the Skyline that I did a little while ago, I think that had smaller tyres, and there's the likes of the Corolla as well get smaller tyres. So it's not the worst for the tyre size, but it is not exactly the best shape for a racing vehicle. And while I will be putting, of course, race brakes on the car, we'll be getting race suspension on the vehicle as well. There is always the fear of rolling over. And there is always the fear of the handling. It's not likely to be the greatest of handling cars, and that very, very high centre of mass could cause some issues, some quite spectacular issues, I suspect. We had the Alpha as the first car to fall over. I would not be surprised to see this fall over a couple of times. Around the Brands Hatch circuit, it could potentially be that bad. Anyway, the weight's actually pretty decent. We're down to 2,400 pounds, which is not too bad for one of these builds. The power, I can't remember how much the flat 6 gets. I'm hoping we should be getting a decent amount from this. The PI is gradually creeping up. I was never really expecting this to go up into R class. We may well see it. Yeah, I mean, we've got it into S. The Lancia that leads the table, the benchmark time, if you like, that car was just R-Class. So this is not as many PI points down as you might expect, but as we've seen many times already with this, the PI is kind of not really to be listened to. It's all about whether you can actually make the most, whether you can control all of the power and so on. And in this, I am highly doubting it. 817 horsepower we are up to at the moment in the Volkswagen, up to 852 horsepower now. That's a lot of power. It's 861 is the power that we finished. I was kind of expecting 875. I think that might be from the V6. 861 horsepower, almost 700 foot-pounds of torque in a VW Campervan. And we're going to be driving it around in the wet. Much power, decent torque, relatively lightweight. I think this could be an absolute handful. It might be amazingly good. We've had that before with cars that have surprised us. I'm not 100% sure that's going to be the case with this, though. So, of course, to test out this crazy contraption, we have come to the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit, where I will get 6 laps to try and go as fast as possible. Our current leader is the Lancia Beta race car with a 49.8. a benchmark time that this is unlikely to really get anywhere near. I'm thinking maybe the Volvo 850R, 550 sort of time that we can look at getting with this would be nice to beat the Volvo, perhaps, if this isn't too completely and utterly ridiculously crazy to drive. Right, no, don't go near the curb, don't go near that, no, I don't mean to go near the curb. I wanted to take a tight line, but going near the curb is silly. Also, the outside curb is also quite vicious. We have managed to get to full throttle, though. Just briefly, I think that third gear seemed to be like a good gear for getting to full throttle without spinning the wheels. That's quite impressive, actually. Yeah, third gear works. This is not as terrible on the traction as I was expecting from the, from the camper. I am quite surprised by that. Yeah, okay, we do still spin the wheels up a little bit, but it isn't as awful as I was kind of fearing, although that's a long way on two wheels for that corner. That's not a normal corner to be going up onto two wheels. And that was quite, yeah, okay. We're going to have to be really quite wary of those corners. Oh, crap. Yeah, okay, we're, no, bad camper van, very bad camper van. So the thing does a slight wheelie. I don't know whether it's actually quite lifting the front wheels off. I don't think it is. I think it's just kind of unloading them. When we get on the power, it lifts the front up, and then I lose real control of the car. It just goes whichever way it was pointing at the time where it lifts up, and that's often sort of accelerating out of a corner, so it steers whichever way you were steering, and you don't have control of it. So that's a fun thing to be worrying about there. Oh, crap! Forgot about that curb. May have forgotten about just how vicious that curb was. Yeah, we will roll this thing over very easily. The good news is that it kind of goes, or certainly at that corner there, it goes so slowly that I can stop it from rolling over. Turn one, I suspect if we hit it wrong, it will just go instantly. So yeah, we're going to have to really... Whoa, okay, yeah, even that curb there. It's not a normal curb. We're putting a car up onto its side. We're going to have to really avoid the curbs, and yeah, if we're going to keep this in one piece... Oh, I tried to get on the throttle again, it's exactly the same thing around there. Right, I will have to be more patient, waiting to get on the throttle there, or take a slightly different line, just to stop the thing from rearing up and losing control. It does it there as well, going down turn one. That is a real pain in the arse. I think what's helping with the wheel spin, to an extent with this car, is the gear ratios are quite long. That's very, very useful for something like this. It means I can get away with using quite a bit more throttle because, yeah, we've got such longer gear ratios, we don't get as much wheel spin out of these turns. It is quite handy when we have such a silly, overpowered monster such as this one. This lap things are going a little bit better. Well, I say they're going a little bit better. God damn, it doesn't even have to be a big curb. You just brush any curb. Just any curb will do for putting this car up onto its side. Okay, so if we take a tighter line here, I know we've got to avoid the puddle. That works. Okay, that's what we've got to do. Maybe a short shift up into fourth. We're doing 140 miles an hour in a VW Campervan. We've got into the 55s as well. So, yeah, I mean, it's not horrendously bad, in all honesty, which is a strange thing to be saying, I know. It's not as ludicrously out of control as you might expect from a VW camper. And that 55 was with a crappy run down the start-finish straight. So I'm hoping we can maybe, I don't know if another second knocked off is too much to ask. We'll see, though, what can be managed with the camper van. Oh, if we don't lose the back end down there. Right, now we can run across. There's kind of bits of that curve we can run across. The rest of it is a little bit... is a little bit risky. You might get away with it, but you just might not. We are 0.8 of a second up on this lap. See if we can get down to the 54. No. Come on, car. Oh, I tried to take that line again and it didn't work that time around. Oh, we did get it into the 54s. 54.3, that'll do quite nicely. Can we get it into the 53s? Oh, that's a silly manoeuvre. I realised when I turned in quite where it was going, and then there was nothing that I could do because I didn't have the control to sort of change direction. Right, can we get... Oh, no, stop going up onto... That was a really slow speed brush along the curb, and even that was enough to upset the camper van. Can we find 0.3 of a second? We won't find it on this lap, but we may just find it on the next one if everything can stay under control. If we get no. I say everything under control, I don't mean go up on your side, camper van. If everything can remain nicely in control, we have no silly suspension moments around here. I might even short shift up into fourth. There we go. We're across. That's worked out quite nicely for me. Here we go. This is it. Can we find Can we find 0.3 of a second? I don't trust the brakes on this car whatsoever into turn 1. And that's the problem. I'm trying to get on the power to kind of carry speed downhill there. As soon as you get on the power with the elevation change, the car just wants to rear up, and I very nearly lost control of it down there. We have, though, survived all of that. I think third gear is a nice gear for getting out of these corners. It's working wonders for this camper van. There we go. Little bit of wheel spin going on down there. Oh, careful as with trying to get out of these turns quicker. It's not worked. We've lost time. I think I may have been a little slow into that first corner, possibly. It's a very awkward thing to work with, and it's the kind of weird problems that I wasn't expecting from the car. I was thinking of, the rolling over issues or not being particularly good through the turns and whatnot. We found some time in that final sector, but messed it up in the first sector. Can we go for a celebratory roll? There we go. 54.3 from the camper. Yeah, I thought we might have traction issues. We don't. Not really. I mean, yeah, it spins its wheels. Everything does, though, especially considering the size of the tyres that we have in this. It actually does really quite well for traction. And handling isn't really that bad. We don't have kind of terrible oversteer. We don't have terrible understeer. The problem is the suspension doesn't like the elevation changes, and that causes no end of problems when trying to carry speed around corners, pretty much. Yeah, especially down turn 1 in the final corner. Problematic, and it's very, very easy to roll, so you've got to be taking those slightly wider lines through some of the corners anyway, because you just can't run the risk of rolling over. The time, though, well, it will put the camper van into 17th place. It does beat out the Volvo 850R. It does beat the Pontiac Aztek a couple of tenths of a second down on the Lancia Stratos. It's actually not that far off the likes of the Plymouth Fury. I don't think that's a pretty good showing for considering the vehicle that I'm driving here. Considering it's a VW Campervan. I think that's quite a respectable time, really. Shame about the suspension getting so unhappy when you're trying to carry speed anywhere. But there you go. Well, it is now time to find out how quickly this will go in a straight line. And that, of course, means bringing the campervan to Le Mans. If we can get past 200 miles an hour, I reckon this thing will be doing pretty well. Let's face it, it's the kind of worst shape imaginable for cutting through the air. It's not good. So yeah, if we can get it past the 200 mile an hour mark, I think that'll be pretty good for a campervan. If we can keep it under control as well. The gears are absurdly long. Right, gears, cut back this way. There we go. Okay, now are we going to 180 miles an hour? I don't know if we're going to get a huge amount more than 180, I will be honest. 191, I lied. But 100, yeah, okay, maybe not 180. 190 looks about all we're going to get with the camper van. Let's face it, it hasn't got the most power of the vehicles that we have seen go here before. It's, it's not likely to be the most comfortable a ride down the Le Mans Straight either. It's just, look at it, it's a barn door trying to cut through the air, so not exactly surprising. Oh dear God, we might actually roll over without touching a curb with this thing. Whoa. There is no setup on this vehicle. There's not a jelly car setup on here. This is genuinely just how the thing drives. That's incredible. That is so impressively awful. Wow. We're gonna go. Yeah, this is not ideal. Not ideal at all for trying to do 190 miles an hour down the Mons Straight. There we go. We may have a very, very big accident when we come to the kink at the end of the straight here. Oh bloody hell! That was the bumps I was talking about. We've had many an issue there before with cars getting unhappy and so on. And yeah, they really just tipped the camper van sideways. We've already got a little bit of a scrape on the side of the car. Oh God, that has never been a problem corner before for vehicles. But the camper van really wants to lift up. Alright, how on earth are we going to fare when we come to the end of this straight? I mean, at this point we're okay. There's not really too much to do. It's not particularly bumpy. There's nothing to really worry about. We are going to crack the 100 and maybe the 190 mark. Come on, camper van. We can do this. 189. 190 miles an hour. There we go. 191 perhaps. Look, we're going. Oh, that was a big wheelie. Any speed? Any more? I don't think we're going to. There's 190 again. I don't think we're going to get that last 1 mile an hour out of the camper van. Are we ready for things to go spectacularly wrong? Relatively tame. Relatively tame from the camper van. I was kind of expecting a lot more kind of lean and almost fall over as we sort of turned in initially, but it was fine. It just kind of understeered. That was a little disappointing. I was expecting a really big accident from your camper van, but no, nothing particularly exciting. It was much scarier coming onto the straight than that coming off of the straight section. Yeah, we dinged it down the side, but it wasn't as particular a spectacular incident as I was kind of expecting from it down there, seeing as how stupidly it handles. Yeah, there is a fair amount of grip roll going on in the dry in this vehicle. It does not like going around corners on all four wheels, which makes it a bit of an interesting thing. Straight line speed, it's 190 miles an hour. I mean, that's certainly not bad for a VW Campervan. Equally, it's not particularly surprising that it's not really that fast in a straight line when we, kind of look at the shape of it. The speed, it will beat the Pontiac Aztek. It will go quicker than the Aztek, but it will also go into 17th place on the table, beaten by the Willys Jeep and everything else that has gone around here. It's not particularly fast in a straight line. The handling is scary. The circuit driving isn't too bad if you can avoid the curbs, or in the rain if you can avoid the curbs. Then you might be okay. However, the suspension does move about a lot. It lifts the front of the car up, or certainly unloads the front of it, and that causes some big issues with elevation changes. It could have been a lot worse, though. It could have been, and I kind of feared we would have a lot more issues with this than we actually did. But there we go. That is it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.